One last game. Alright, go to bed. Where it will once again be very, very frustrating and tiring 5 days. By the way, I think I should show this. No, that is not me opening up another. I brought the entire trilogy for the Switch so I can play it at school. I know I said I was playing the original, but I was playing the third game, but then I decided to stop playing it on my emulator on my tablet because I'm playing it right here with the mods. So I decided maybe I'll play one of the first two games, but it turns out the first two games are really poorly optimized. So I decided to get them on the Switch. That way I won't have to worry about using up my tablet's battery, and I can play on the hardest difficulty for them, which will be fun. I didn't buy the DLC though. I'm never gonna use them anyhow. I'll obviously be playing the first game. The second game has a special gimmick where you can actually transfer your previous save file from the first game, so I want to play the first game first. Just because of that alone. And you know, it helps to play the game in order. Although, I have played the third game first right now. Anyway, there's not to do, but it is rather annoying to find out, though, about the controls.
These bosses are stable game design for a reason.
The touchscreen, the only touchscreen support the game's controls has is drawing the map, which is really frustrating. I thought I could tap the menus and stuff, but nope. Looks like it'll mostly be just like the original in terms of its controls, where it is just the map as well. Annoying, but I live, I suppose. Wait, did I?
Sad basement boy to the King of Diamonds, the Beer Catcher Pro Kit from Manscaped. Beards are not easy to maintain on grow, and you don't want to just ignore them. A couple of my friends are in dire need of some beard treatments right now. They could really use the Beer Catcher Pro Kit, which includes everything you need for beer cheer. It's all centered
Oh, yo, nice. I got the flame claw.
On the haircutting link to the versatility.
Apparently that wasn't my first time getting it.
For ultimate convenience. It's in water. After shaving, start your alchemy step. Focus on the beard shampoo, which smells great. Conditioner also smells great. Beard oil, that one doesn't smell like anything. The beard balm, pack smells great. For a limited time, the pack also comes with styling accessories. Brush, beard comb, scissors to complete the set, as well as a travel bag to keep it all organized on the go. Get 20% off plus free shipping at today's sponsor, Manscaped. Promo code DesignDoc, manscaped.com/DesignDoc.
I had like 3 turns to beat up an enemy.
Use code DesignDoc. Over 8 million men plus Manscaped. You can too.
If I encounter an enemy in a dragon's den, that's what I'll call those large rooms that have a frick ton of dragons on them.
It's not huge, but there will never be a challenge that we can. And yet, there are impossible bosses all over the place. You can probably name a half dozen off the top of your head right now. The idea works. So, what are they doing to avoid what seems like an unfixable problem? Impossible bosses aren't normal bosses. They can't be a boss that works like all the other bosses, but it's impossible. It does make the game stop being a game. There has to be something more, something else than what the boss is doing for it to work. Impossible bosses twist the boss format into something else, but that twist can play on a few different angles. So, why do they make a boss impossible? Well, it does add some powerful new tools to the toolkit. Let's start with the narrative. It's really common for impossible bosses to try to game's narrative, more so than many other boss groups. Whether it's establishing a villain as a threat, introducing a great set piece, or driving home a feeling of helplessness to the player, an impossible boss can be especially good at tying together story and gameplay. Narrative-focused impossible bosses are setting things up for the long run. They're great as the first encounter with a recurring villain. RPGs love to use this to force them to use boss methods. Mario 64 starts out with a fight against Bowser, where after a few bumps to the head, Bowser decides to cheat. This game's Guthix the Star Rod.
Yeah, I hate the dragons.
Goes around with it, and then one-shots you with a blast of fire. The fight is completely scripted, with a fear of game. It establishes how battles work and sets up the main goal of the story. Life needs to overcome Bowser's new invincible form. You could have done this in a cutscene, but making the sequence interactive instead helps hold comparison to the game more quicker, even if the outcome is predetermined. Other RPGs bring this out a little later after the player has gotten the bearings. Maybe the main villain hasn't shown up yet, but you find a lieutenant of theirs in your way. Final Fantasy IX Beatrix has been sent to deal with on the catalog. You've seen her a few times in cutscenes by now, and you've taken on some powerful monsters so far. So this should be a great even match, right? Nah, you said. She wipes the floor with you, and again later. You got some work to do still. Time for this too. With these impossible bosses, there's a trap to fall into. Some bosses who are impossible to beat still require you to fight well enough to win before the scenario ends. Beatrix has HP and still has to be taken down to 0 before you win, or at least you have to let her have to turn. Even though the fight ends with her destroying you all, you let your guard down and let her beat you. Like mechanics themselves, the game treats that as an actual PO. When the game has established that some fights aren't meant to be won, there's going to be a nagging suspicion in the minds of players during other difficult fights. Is this one real? Should I be using items on this? Or am I meant to lose? Because sometimes you are meant to lose. Impossible bosses in a narrative context are perfect for leaning into the idea of a final fate. Not every story has to end with you overcoming the odds for a The final sequence of Halo Reach shows off what the right kind of fight against impossible odds can do to your story. I wouldn't call Halo Reach's epilogue a boss exactly. It's more of a mini-core character. But it's the culmination of the unwinnable fight the story has been building throughout the entire game. You and your co-op partners are the last line of defense against an unending stream of Covenant, and the only objective is to survive as long as you can. If your partner goes down, the game will display the teammate waiting to respond message. That will never happen. The area isn't safe, and will never be safe again. You're on your own as your visor cracks. When the end finally arrives for 6, the game delivers a pitch-perfect moment of self-sacrifice, and ties together the conclusion that you knew was coming.
that the series had described and had been building towards this entire game. It was inevitable, but playing it yourself makes it hit even harder, no matter that you couldn't change it. Not every impossible boss has to be about allegories. Sometimes the boss just has like really good armor or something. It's less about the story significance and more about figuring out a way around the bulletproof man. Nothing you do will damage them in a way that matters. You have to think of something else. Run, dodge, lure them into a different kind of trap. One of the major points of an impossible boss is that it forces players to think differently. They create a chance to redefine what games bosses can be. Resident Evil 2 Remake's Mr. X is a classic. He's one of the most beloved, unbeatable bosses you're forced to avoid. The first third of RE2 takes place in the Raccoon City police station, where you're exploring the place like it's a labyrinth, dealing with zombies, managing resources, and unlocking doors. You get familiar with the station's layout over time as you backtrack and navigate through it. Eventually, the station feels like a terrible second home. The basic zombies aren't a big deal anymore. You've boarded up the windows and cleared the way. Everything is just peachy. Oh no, another zombie with a hat. He's got a hat. The game throws the tyrant, Mr. X, into your perfect cozy zombie home. He's an unstoppable walking machine who's out for your head. For the rest of the time in the RPD, Mr. X will be stalking you through narrow corridors and you can't stop him. The game becomes something like a navigation puzzle, where to get around, you're going to have to effectively juke around him to get to where you need to go. His wide frame and the narrow rooms make it tough to do. You can stun him with powerful weapons, but you can't truly get rid of him until later. You'll be unlocking doors and dealing with zombies like before, but now with the ever-present threat of Hat Man pursuing you. Keep an ear out for his loud footsteps, and plan your moves accordingly. Any hallway you didn't clear out earlier is now a huge problem when you add Mr. X to the mix. And there's no way to quietly sneak around the sound-sensitive lickers anymore when you're rushing to get away from him. Mr. X works as a great finale for the RPD section of the game, as a test of how well you can navigate and use resources wisely to get around an unstoppable threat. It's plenty doable if you know what you're doing, but that first blind run is an unforgettable survival horror challenge. You can also use an impossible boss to add a touch of survival horror to other types of games. Metroid's mostly an action-adventure series, but it's always had a strong sci-fi horror flavor that it dips into on occasion. What's more sci-fi horror than an unstoppable robot chasing after you? The SA-X and ME in Metroid Fusion and Dread fit the bill nicely. In Metroid Fusion, you have to deal with the X, floating jelly parasites that pose a seriously scary threat. If it touches organic life, it can kill it, mimic it, and mutate into something even more dangerous. Guess what the SA stands for in SA-X? This one copied Super Metroid level Samus Aran and has all of her abilities from that game, like the fully powered wall-cutting Ice Beam, the Screw Attack, and explosive power bombs. It's a powerful, soulless husk that will hunt you down without mercy. Not to worry, you've got nothing. You're in no shape to even approach this thing. Your robot companion emphasizes this from the start and tells you to stay away from it. If it spots you, don't fight, just run. You don't really have a choice. On and off screen, it'll cause chaos, destroying pathways and unleashing more X-Parasites into the other areas of the space station the game takes place in. Fusion does a masterful job of framing the threat that the SA-X poses, and the handful of times you run into it are genuinely scary for a first-time player. But it's mostly good because of the frame. The actual gameplay involving it is very limited. It can kill you no problem if it gets a clear shot, but your interactions can only go so far. The few times you encounter it are pretty short and quite scripted. Its AI is rudimentary and easy to mess with as it does things like run back and forth aimlessly in a hallway. The final showdown isn't as cathartic as you might hope, as you just gun it down as quickly as possible. It's not exactly an easy fight, but it's not very dynamic either. Good thing that framing is great. It elevates the X-Parasite threat and is a very memorable villain, but it would take another couple of decades for Metroid to take another crack at this type of boss. Metroid Dread's big hook comes from the ME, robot drones that are nigh indestructible, packed to hunt Samus down and steal her Metroid DNA. The ME expand on the SA-X concept. They aren't as scary, but they make up for it as a much more mechanically interesting threat to deal with. They're effectively mini-bosses that emphasize navigation and light stealth mechanics. Most of the areas in the game have an Emmy unit, and they're confined to a specific zone where they're found. As you explore the area, you'll go in and out of these Emmy zones, and will play a game of cat and mouse with the robot in 1 to 2 minute chunks. It'll climb all over the place and can hear you as you move around. They won't actively chase you if they can't see you, but they will home in on you. When you hear the beep, the Emmy is in the same room. It will find you sooner or later, so you have to get a move on. Fighting the SA-X didn't go much beyond waiting for it to leave a room or a simple chase sequence. Fusion didn't have much in the way of stealth or defensive maneuvers, so there was only so much range the developers had to work with in those sections. Dread is built with evasion mechanics in mind. With the Emmy's dynamic movement and AI, you're bound to confront one at some point, and there are just so many more ways to handle it. Your different running, sliding, dashing, wall jumping, and climbing options can come into play. If you're about to be spotted or want to sneak by one, you have the Phantom Cloak. At a cost to your movement, you turn invisible for as long as your stamina bar can hold out, and as long as you don't just bump into it. You'll have plenty of close calls, which is always a thrill. Even if it catches you, you still have a tiny window to parry, stun the robot, and make a break for it. The parry window is somewhat randomized and tough to capitalize on, so you can't rely on it. There's 2 chances, and if you miss, it's game over, and you zip back to the last Emmy door you entered, which won't be more than a couple of minutes of time loss. Before long, you'll find the Emmy's central unit, these little mother brain looking mini-bosses that you can dispose of for a temporary power-up, the Omega Cannon. This powerful Gatling gun lets you finally face off against the robot head-on, take out its armor plating, and finish it off with a well-aimed charge shot, bringing an end to the threat and rewarding you with a new ability. You'll go through the same process with each Emmy, but they do become trickier with new powers and tactics that keep you trying to think one step ahead of an enemy you can't just blast your way past. The Emmys are a great test of traversal and stealth, contrast well with the more run and gun elements of Dread, and do a great job of refining an SA-X type pursuer boss to highlight the variety of the tools at Samus's disposal. Other impossible bosses can highlight mechanics that might get ignored in normal gameplay. They can force a player to dig deep into their bag of tricks. If you've got a boss that you can't take down with the attack command, what else you got? Early in Final Fantasy VIII, you and your fellow students are on their big field exam to become a member of the mercenary force, Z. Be on your best behavior. You've got to take out the G Army so they don't capture a TV tower. Bang bang boom, work your way through the city, get canonically bored, and head up to the tower. Never mind, you've got 30 minutes until the boat leaves. Head back to shore. Whoops, you should have beaten up that guy some more, because he has a robot. The XATM-092 is an unstoppable crabbing machine, ready to hit your whole party for massive damage. Zell tells you to run, and you should listen to Zell for once. Not only do you have a timer running, but the robot can heal itself. And not like in the Curaga way. This guy's doing it in the cutscene set-piece way. Way more effective. It's part of a category of impossible bosses who can bring themselves back to life somehow. You can defeat them, just not for long. Think the Regenerator in Dead Space, or Nemesis in RE3. There's no way to take this thing down. As you flee, the robot will keep pursuing you and drawing you into a fight every time it catches up, wasting more of your timer and possibly KOing you if you aren't prepared. Running back through Dalit is a matter of desperately trying to get to the next screen before the robot catches you and warning the dog along the way. Okay, so you can destroy the robot if you're really persistent, but you're not really supposed to. You get an item, but lose both time and an entire cutscene. A self-healing impossible boss with the story beats of defeating the boss and then the revelation that you aren't actually done with them can have a medium-term mini-narrative that feels very different than the usual one-and-done boss structure. The Dalit Town robot is an interactive cutscene tied to flee mechanics that players might not feel the need to use very often. The unusual setup turns what would have been a lot of backtracking through streets into a tense chase scene that feels very different from the usual PS1 era boss encounters and gives cinematic flair to an early chapter of the game. Impossible bosses are also great fits as puzzle bosses. You can make an impossible boss who you have to defeat by doing or solving or finding something first. Back to Paper Mario. The series has dabbled with some invincible antagonists in a few chapters, where the focus is to collect something that lets you get through their defenses. The fourth chapter of the Thousand Year Door takes place in a haunted house where you take a short tour and encounter a mysterious Duplighost enemy. After a simple boss fight where he turns into a purple silhouette of Mario, you get your prize, and the chapter ends. Huh. Kind of short, but whatever. Oh, I'm still here. Oh, he stole my face. Somehow the boss has stolen your face, name, and your entire party. The rest of the chapter is you figuring out how to undo it all. Whenever you try going back to town, you're confronted by the doppelganger, who gives you the Rumpelstiltskin runaround. Guess his name, and you can have your stolen identity returned. Only catch, the lowercase p is missing. He robbed the UI. Even if you already know the name, you can't spell it. Really. Since you can't guess it right, you're thrown into an impossible fight that you can only run from until you find the missing P. This involves a bunch of back and forths and light puzzle solving to find the letter and in the process, the copycat's true name. You go back, reveal the name, he runs away, and you corner him to do a proper boss fight. He's got your stolen moveset as well as your party members, who seem very unconcerned that Mario has been talking this whole chapter. The chapter boss boils down to a simple lock and key adventure game puzzle, but the setup and writing are great. The puzzle creates a new angle for the boss and makes for a unique scenario that has become one of the most memorable chapters in the series. But you know, who labeled all these bosses anyway? Is it really impossible or just very, very, very hard? The last category is for impossible bosses that aren't impossible at all. These are the ones where the game warns you that they're impossible, but really the game just doesn't believe in you enough. You can prove it wrong. This style is great for secret endings, New Game Plus runs, and the most hardcore min-maxers, and usually ranks among the game's hardest challenges. The Dynasty Warrior series has one major antagonist that the game begs you to avoid. Do not pursue Blue Boo. If you're foolhardy enough to try anyway, he'll probably obliterate you. Blue Boo is optional in many of the arenas he appears in, which gives the designers the ability to really crank up his difficulty. Blue Boo has the range, skill, speed, power, and morale to blow you up in a couple of seconds. But he's not invincible. You could beat him. As long as you don't kill his girlfriend first, then who knows. It'd be easy enough to make him actually invincible, where taking him on would be pointless. But the combination of how heavily the game telegraphs that he's out of your league, the level of difficulty you'll find if you do face him, and that nagging feeling that you could actually take him down if you're just better at the game, creates a dynamic to strive for, and a pre-built challenge ready to go on the second or third playthrough, once you've gotten better at combat. When one of these fake-out impossible bosses shows up at the beginning of the game, just like a threat-establishing narrative impossible boss, you can play out a lot of fun what-if scenarios. Devil May Cry 5 has a modern classic one of these in Urizen, a new demonic big bad so powerful that not even Dante could beat him. What hope do you have as a severely weakened Nero? On your first run, you're not likely to do much more than chip damage before Urizen takes out your whole health bar and kicks you out of the fight. You're in no shape to succeed. But defeat isn't strictly guaranteed. It's very hard, it's tedious as hell, but you can chip them down to zero on this very first playthrough. If you persevere, you get a secret ending, and truly we live in the best of all possible worlds. The fight in secret is intended to be more of a cool Easter egg for a New Game Plus playthrough, when you have your full kit of upgrades, weapons, and abilities. But if you want it badly enough, you can go for it. Urizen hits all the main categories we've talked about. It works as a narrative opener and stake-setting encounter, a very hard mechanical test, and still rewards the most dedicated fans with secret content. He's the whole package. Let's talk about impossible bosses in the comments. Most of them are unique, so highlight the uniqueness of your favorites. Impossible bosses are designed for a supporting purpose, whether it's through an ultimate challenge for those who believe in their skills, a narrative anchor point to cement a villain's place in a story, or just a refreshing change of pace to keep the game loop from getting stale. Impossible bosses are great motifs to throw a curveball at just the right time.
Nice one, Teosra. A bit useless, but okay. Oh, it's these guys. I'm gonna kill one without by spamming ice. But I'm going to not kill the other one using ice. Oops, I killed them both with ice. Oh well.
Real pride in playing Dr. Mario, who sits down at a lovely dinner conversation and says, "Listen, I know you must be soaking that chair inside and out from how arousing you find my incredible gamer physique, but I just thought I'd sweeten the deal by telling you that I'm a Dr. Mario main. Oh, I know. Your place or mine. And bring your sister." Dr. Mario is a function and nothing more. He exists because Nintendo wanted to pull the Jackie Chan Fists of Fire nuclear roster option, but Sakurai begged and pleaded them to not fill out the slots with 9 different Mario clones, so they settled on 3. Except now, Luigi has metastasized into his own man, while Dr. Mario's best gimmick is studying archival films of Mario stubbing his toe and adopting that demeanor as his entire personality. Pichu is a joke character, but in the opposite direction. There's no festivity to winning with Pichu like there used to be. The idea of, "Whoa, he beat you with Pichu!" went out with the GameCube. And now the fact he actually reigned a bit as a top-tier character cements his status as the poor man's humiliation maker. If you play Pichu to Pichu, that's fine. There's not much to say other than what I already said for Pikachu, just turn the dial up on everything a little bit. But if you play this adorable mousy fuck for even a split second thinking winning with him gives you some street cred, then it's time to get out of your time capsule, Grandpa, because I'm proud to announce that we finally created a vaccine for polio. Hands off my cock! That's the war cry of any Falco main. But they're not shouting it at other Smash Bros. Enthusiasts. They're blasting it as their internal monologue thanks to their non-stop, turbocharged V8 ego. Falco as a character has very little to talk about, having been a clone of the most successful Smash character ever created. But instead, the story here is the lore around this blue bastard that's about 10 miles deep. If you want a true second banana story, you can ignore Mario's green brother and instead turn to Falco. There's a strong cult around Falco that's formed in the Smash scene, and try as they might to claim that they're the absolute shit and Falco's hot tits in every game that he's in, they can't escape the image built around our avian friend. Falco will always falter behind Fox in every aspect, and I think Falco players will always falter behind Fox players in every aspect. It doesn't matter that Falco was technically
tier listed higher in Smash Bros. Brawl, the worst Smash Bros. Game, because a Falco player has a toggle switch in their brain. They're either an unrespected powerhouse who has all the tools to push past Fox if someone were to crack the code, or Falco's just not as good as he seems and they deserve a standing ovation for playing a nerfed version of the best character ever on purpose. Neither of these opinions really matter, because for a Falco player all that matters is that they play Falco, and you and everyone you know is going to know this fact because they won't ever stop talking about it. A Marth player's strategy is exactly the same as his success in dating, the only expendable income he'll ever have, and the visible piece of their delusions of grandeur iceberg. Just the tip. Well, you want to win, don't ya? And you want to do it easily, don't ya? Boy, do I have the most milquetoast character imaginable for you. The largest crowd uproar a Lucina player can ever hope for is a few people muttering, yeah, okay. After they win a match. Lucina is super good at what she does, but what she does is play the most formulatic game of Smash Bros. Ever imaginable. If you just so happen to be in the niche category of playing Lucina because you love Fire Emblem Awakening, well, why don't you go fuck yourself anyway? Because you're partially responsible for Fire Emblem going from a respectable tactics RPG to the cringiest anime fan service snooze fest of the last decade. Do you dream of doing all the work required of playing Link except at 3 times the speed? Do you like mocking the lactose intolerant? Do you want your opponent to physically smack you in the mouth in real life at some point during the match? Then I have the perfect character for you. But at least at the end of every match you can say, hey, at least I'm not playing Toon Link. Even the Smash announcer doesn't like Ganondorf.
Sponsor, Mario Ganondorf.
That's how tiresome he is. Ganondorf walks such an incredible tightrope of actual skill requirement and new player trap. It's amazing he hasn't joined the, ironically good circus yet. Let's look at the facts. Ganondorf has ranked in the absolute last possible tier in every single Smash game except for Melee, which is only because he's the most like Captain Falcon in that game who I covered earlier. The main difference in Ganondorf is he's an absolutely garbage character, and at no point in history has he ever been remotely close to Captain Falcon in terms of excitement, viability, or fun factor, thanks to being a contrived hype machine. Ganondorf himself is not interesting. It's the fanboys who scream, oh my god, he's playing Ganondorf! I can't believe it, Ganondorf sucks ass! That's what makes the character interesting, and it's just a cliche underdog story. The only place that Ganondorf works, embarrassingly enough, is in the role-playing sphere. On the absolute surface level, you have the higher skilled players using Ganondorf as a handicap, or the determined grinders who want to excel with a character who plays the absolute most bare-bone game of Smash possible. Then you have the people who play Ganondorf to play the Dwarf. They just want a wizard foot dick holes across the map, catch someone off guard with a fat warlock punch, and butt-fuck someone as the true Prince of Darkness. Ganondorf is a casual's choice, and for good reason. Typically, these are players who aren't very good and will get their ass kicked time and time again against higher-skilled players, while leaving every match muttering, oh, if I had just gotten that one good hit, I would have turned this whole thing around, without realizing the entire reason they always lose is because they never will get that one good hit, except on the odd chance that a slot machine would get the same odds too on hitting a jackpot. But with all this, Ganondorf himself has no interesting gimmicks, and no moves that aren't either boring or what already make Captain Falcon better. So for people like me who think the hype around Ganondorf is unsupported and overrated, what objective value does he provide? A test of skill at best, a character based off someone's racist grandfather at worst, and the majority of the time a slower, clunkier version of a potentially 5-star character pick. Okay, this one's gonna be a bit more personal. I brought out the chair because it's story time. Forget all the Major League stat crunching and analysis for a second. When I was 8 years old, Super Smash Bros. 64 had just hit store shelves, and I put my hours in, oh, you better believe it. I ran through the campaign countless times, played against my friends in multiplayer, and had no fucking idea who Ness was. You know, everything you would expect. I was also a giant Pokemon fan at the time. Well, I still am, but I just think modern Pokemon is hot garbage, but that's another point. My main was Pikachu. and my world-class unstoppable tactic was flying through the air and spamming down B to hit people with random thunder attacks. And then one day I was hanging out with my older brother, who decided to take me to his friend's house. My eyes bulged out of their skulls like a fucking Looney Tune when I noticed that they were playing Super Smash Bros. On the GameCube. Now, I didn't even know there was a Smash Bros. Sequel coming out, and here it was, rip-roaring, ready to go with all the characters unlocked and everything. So my brother and I grabbed some controllers and we set up a standard 2-minute 4-player game, as was the style at the time, and I scrolled through the character list, and I saw him. Mew motherfucking 2. The most powerful Pokemon. The one who wrecked Ash's asshole inside and out in Pokemon the first movie. The Pokemon who blew telekinesis out his butthole and anyone who dared to stand in his way. The legendary bitch slapper who trained for 10,000 years in a cave just waiting for me to beat the Elite Four before it even considered moving the guy with the British hat guarding the entrance out of the way. I immediately locked in Mewtwo with a strong glimmer of childlike wonder in my eyes. And I remember this really clearly. Super vividly.
He wasn't live.
Game loaded. And the stage was Jungle James. I even remember that part. And as soon as the match started, I got my ass beat. I got the shit stomped out of me inside and out. And then force-fed to me. Then I would have a second load of shit that I'd be force-fed later on, like 6-8 hours later. I didn't get a single kill. I barely did any damage. And if I had properly gone through puberty at the time, I'm certain my testicles would have receded back into my body cavity, never to be seen again. Now, 10-year-old me at the time had tons of protests, saying things like, oh, the new game is too fast, or I don't have a GameCube, I don't know how to use this controller, but none of that mattered. Mewtwo let me down. That's one of the most vivid memories I have of Smash Bros. Melee. And I think it's permanently tainted my perspective of Mewtwo and Smash. Because all I can ever think, ever, when I see him in the game, is this one fact. Why is the most powerful psychic Pokemon to ever live spending all match floating around like a plastic bag on the highway and whipping his tail around like he's hoping Incineroar is gonna dick him down? I hope you like ramen, cause you're getting a shitload of noodle hits with this boy. Okay, that's a competitive joke, so we're gonna tone it down a little bit. Roy exists on a binary spectrum. When you see this boy's bloodlusted fire crotch launching itself at you at 90 miles an hour, you're either gonna witness one of two things. The first is an absolute momentum-based smackdown of epic proportions. You'll see combos, juggles, bitch slaps from a stub sword faster than you can blink. There's a certain zone that Roy is gonna enter, a flow state delivered from the fighting game gods on high that will make matches seem effortless and other characters feel like they move through jello. If you hit this state, feel free to sign up for the US Armed Forces, because the only way you're gonna recreate this combat high is through actual armed warfare. But the second is the opposite of that. Roy's most prominent characteristic here in a match can also be perfectly represented by a swimming pool of mashed potatoes. His doughy, worthless exterior will fail to find anything that works as he gets a colonoscopy straight from the enemy's foot. Combos will whiff, attacks will bounce off. Like wearing a condom, things just won't feel as good. If you're a fan of high highs and low lows, Roy is the character for you. And if you're picking him because he's super handsome, he's 15, you sick fuck. Roy, what baller. Something about Chrom just goes harder in every way. Maybe it's his more all-or-nothing mechanics and recovery, or his more cromulent appearance. But where Roy players are likely to punch a bully in the face for talking shit about their mom, Chrom players just ignore the tormenting and long con the bully's sister into trying anal with them for the first time. The average Chrom player has some sort of tough guy hobby to go with their gameplay. Maybe they lift weights, maybe they rock climb, maybe they try to set speedrun records with their pit bull's ability to maul a toddler. But a Chrom player is never, ever someone to fuck with, because their victory quote from any major tournament is going to be, I'd fucking kill you in real life if I could. Speaking about Game & Watch is pointless, because there isn't a single person alive who gives a shit about the character outside of Smash. If you look me in the eye and tell me you have true nostalgia for Game & Watch consoles from 1980, while also having some sort of investment in Super Smash Bros., then I'm calling the Guinness Book of World Records, because we have a new contender for the world's oldest living human being. As much as I like to toe the line of talking shit on a featureless black blob from a long-forgotten console line, I'd rather let the ultimate Game & Watch player themselves represent their species. Guys, guys, I've invited a girl here to play Smash later on. She is cute, and I think I could be able to lose my virginity, but I want to make her think I am charming. I made this list of puns, still working on it, and one-liners for every Game & Watch move because he is my main. I will say them when I do moves and hopefully make her laugh. I have also listed lines for when the room is tense that won't annoy her, and ones for when it becomes a flirty atmosphere so I can progress to having sex with her. Can you read through and see what you think? Will the flirty lines work? Go ahead and pause the video now if you want a glimpse of the king of the Game & Watch fandom. Sucks to suck, doesn't it? Abandoned ship. Women and Smash players first. At least the boat's egress proceedings can count as a much-needed bath from the ocean, because Meta Knight isn't anything anymore. If you're uneducated, Meta Knight reached the fabled double S tier in Smash Bros. Brawl, because just like a wrestler's bleeding face, he was busted wide open. I legitimately do not have enough time in this video to list what made Meta Knight such a kooky bananas man in the third Nintendo kerfuffle game, but in succeeding games, he sits in a dumpy little mid spot, and because Meta Knight fans are such a rare breed, he has dropped down to one of the bottom 10 most used characters by ranked online players. But can we humble Meta Knight defenders at least take pride in our pick? You cry between braced teeth and dried anxiety throats? No, because while the idea of Kirby's Shadow the Hedgehog seems good on paper, Kirby as a series is too initially cutesy for me to not find this man adorable. Sure, yeah, by Act 3, Kirby games usually push the puree setting on the Nightmare Fuel blender, but the reputation for the franchise is not going to go away. And the only intimidation I feel when I see Meta Knight and his stubby little sword is that I'll get scolded for pinching his chubby little cheeks a bit too much. Oh, come here. The perfect character for someone with a lot of time on their hands. If you're looking for a second job, Pit and Dark Pit are right up your alley. You're gazing upon the ship in the bottle of fighters, the house of cards of characters, and the sand mandala of selections. Playing Pit offers a career with no room to expand and no stock options. You will put in the work and feel no satisfaction. You will feel zero intrinsic attachment to defend him on why you think he's fun to play, and you certainly won't have anyone in your corner if people are choosing a neutral party to root for. Pit's inclusion and subsequent lazy palette swap for Dark Pit is warranted to some extent, I suppose, better than some other inclusions on this list, but if he was removed from this game, absolutely no one would care. The most likely reason Pit and his cronies are in Smash is because Sakurai worked directly on Kid Icarus Uprising. Fun fact about that game, it underperformed in sales compared to the original Kid Icarus from 1986, and the entire Kid Icarus franchise has only sold about 3 million units combined in the last 35 years. So if you're one of the 9 people who cares at all that Kid Icarus is in Smash, congratulations! You stole a few slots from the biggest crossover event in video game history because Sakurai had to slip his ego pet project in there. Pit sucks ass and I'm tired of talking about him. But he's not the worst thing to come from Kid Icarus in this game. Oh, and we'll get there. Boobs! Boobs and titties and butts. You can see a lot of her body, and her ass is hanging out and stuff. She feels like she's wearing nothing at all, which is ironic because the playstyle of this chick is everything everywhere all at once. When you play against Zero Suit Samus, you're no longer playing Smash. You're playing tag. They'll gymnast flip, booty shake all over the screen, changing directions faster than a hummingbird loose in the Pepsi Cola factory. The irony of all of this is that the majority of Zero Suit Samus players don't emulate her appearance at all, and instead look like they themselves got lost in the Pepsi Cola factory. But at least CSS doesn't tend to lend herself to as much waifuing as the other princesses do. I'll give you credit to the fact that a Zero Suit main is more likely to stare me down in the shower and say, yeah, I masturbate to my main, what of it? Instead of shyly tiptoeing around the subject while paying a seminal tribute to the avatar of your choice. Just be careful when shaking hands after a good match because... I mean, look at her, dude. How is this allowed in a Nintendo game? An atomic clock is said to be so accurate at keeping time that they're only off by about 1 second every 100 million years. They achieve this accuracy by measuring the natural oscillation in photons, and have countless applications in scientific developments. Every so often, we add a leap second to our leap years, because the Earth's orbit is not a perfect 365 days, and atomic clocks give us the idea of what time we should actually be trying to keep. If you were to think that playing Wario is an ironic statement for even a single second of time as measured by an atomic clock, then you need to readjust your watch because you've traveled back to 2002. Wario isn't a mysterious cloaked figure of, look at this fucking goober in my Nintendo game anymore. This dude has had at least 17 games of his own since his first appearance in Super Mario Land 2. And who knows how many cameos and spin-offs and other things. Wario's presence in a Mario property these days isn't interesting at all. It just kinda is. Sure, there's the odd occasion he's left out, but leave it to Waluigi to pick up the mantle of obsessive fanboy demand, because that dude is a literal coin toss in the realm of, does Nintendo give a shit about this character? Find out next time. So all you're left with is picking someone off of design, and fart jokes, motorcycles, and garlic are all definitely awesome, so I do have to tip my invisible hat to you a little bit. Just don't let your ego go to your head when you pick this chunkster. There's way too many people throwing themselves pride parades for their demographic of, I play video games as a pants-shitting gremlin, give me a trophy. Stop it. You're not special anymore. Let's ignore the gameplay fundamentals of Snake for a minute here, because we need to talk about why playing Snake is a true patrician's choice. In a video game featuring superheroes, evil monsters, hyper-athletes, animal creatures, and nostalgic fan service, your choice of character to represent you is a man with some guns and a nice ass. Snake's kit for actual gameplay has the potential to be an annoying keep-away and zoning artist, but that potential is equally viable for going full-on calculus on your opponent's ass. In fact, a sizable percentage of the most creative, exciting, and unexpected setups in Smash have come from Snake players, and a good Snake main makes the game fun by making their opponents feel like they fucked up real bad for walking into a trap that was actually completely unavoidable as crafted by you scrumptious little villain. It's really hard for me to roast Snake because I think he gets a bad rap from too many players using his skill set to play a pussified footsie game, when he really excels at dropping a plot twist at the end of every combo. And that twist is, yeah, my C4 was there the whole time, say goodbye to your stock, dumbass. Hell, I'm gonna give you guys a full disclaimer on this one. I only own 2 amiibos, Snake and Midna. Why Midna? Because look at the ass on this thing! Oh my god! I've been a Snake main since Brawl, and I really didn't like Smash Bros. Brawl, but I would have been a Snake main anywhere he showed up, because I've been a Snake main since Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1. Let's just leave it at this. The majority of you Snakes out there gotta stop being such wimps and going for war of attrition, unwatchable bullshit. Go for some sandwich maneuvers. Force your opponent to recover into a charged up forward smash, and use the fucking forward air. Yes, it's a slow, clunky axe kick, but the spikes off of it will put hair on your chest and semen in your pants. Especially if you're a woman. For all you dumb haters, go easy on Snake. It's not his fault. It's the players. And when more people embrace the aggressive Snake style that most 70s Kung Fu movies would love for you to do, he's gonna be a much more exciting character to watch. Hate the player, not the game. Oh, you fuck your wife, don't you? Or you wanna fuck Ike, don't you? Ike is a character who exudes power, and each and every Ike player picks him because there's something about this more effeminate guts from Berserk and imagining yourself in his shoes. Swinging a big fucking slab of a blade around and ever hitting a forward smash is just a pure dopamine spike. Most Ike players are just going for that one single moment of the game where their opponent flies away at Mach 5 and they go, oh. After that, they're set for the rest of the night. Just try not to do any algebra anytime soon if you main Ike. Your brain can't handle it. Gee, Mom, how come this guy gets 3 characters to pick from? Pokemon Trainer is such a weird microcosm of fan service colliding with not wanting the roster to be too cluttered by the biggest franchise of all time. Charizard's here because he's fucking Charizard. In Smash 4, he was the only member of the Pokemon Trainer gang who returned, and his popularity and fat paper stacked to the ceiling support this endeavor as a big move. And once you rattle down Ivysaur's shoo-in conclusion thanks to that weird subsect of people that want to marry an Ivysaur, Squirtle then fills out the roster of each evolution stage of the original starters. Isn't it pretty silly how every Pokemon Trainer player always has one they latch onto, though? Instead of a nice, evenly distributed ratio of 33% for each each Pokemon, it tends to become an 80% favor towards the one they prefer and then some dabbling with the other two. In their introduction, Pokemon switching mattered in Smash Bros. Brawl because Pokemon would become fatigued and perform worse the longer they were out in the action. But now, that's gone. So your dumb little half-revolver gimmick really only exists for two reasons. Number one, Smash Ultimate was said to be bringing back every character, and that includes the ones that weren't designed with this less gimmicky game in mind, and Pokemon Trainer is part of this package. And two, probably more importantly, if Pokemon Trainer wasn't a complete package, Squirtle and Ivysaur would not be in this game. So while I know a ton of you Pokemon Trainer mains out there love doodling around with your Squirtle and writing your vows for your Ivysaur, you better bend yourself over backwards and thank the most overused, overhated Pokemon of all time for carrying your favorite sorry ass into this part of a balanced breakfast. Is it possible to be simultaneously super annoying and super charismatic at the same time? Well, of course it is. Just look at my YouTube channel. Every piece of this primate from top to bottom was made to get on your nerves. Playstyles need not apply. Regardless of skill, tactics, rule set, or environment, Diddy Kong will create a game with a 100% money-back guarantee if you don't say the phrase "fucking stop" at least once. And yet you cannot hate him. You can't. Maybe it's because he's silly, funny monkey, or maybe this whole thing loops back around to being comically depressing in its level of frustration. But it's most likely the fact that he was made to be obnoxious, which somehow makes him less obnoxious than other characters that just turn out to be obnoxious. If Donkey Kong is the apex predator of the joke character world, then Diddy Kong is the alpha male of the troll department. And the sooner you recognize that title, the quicker you'll stop getting mad at him, which is very important because Smash players are sharks. They have to eat each other in the womb to survive and have 15 rows of teeth. But they're also like sharks because if they smell blood in the water, they're gonna capitalize on it. If someone finds out you've got a real fist clencher attitude towards jetpacking jungle japers, then a chant of "ya gotta get ready the ditty" is gonna echo into your set and you'll soon be tussling with this tumbling tree topper. Accept the goofs or die laughing. I love this guy, and you should too if you know what's good for you. Sumimasen. Honto wa niwaku keikaku takonai no desu ka? この子は迷子になっていると思いは、私は彼の両親を見つけることができます。これがあなたの息子である。お前はヘルプデスクで彼に会ってください。ご協力ありがとうございます。Tails Bench, Sally Acorn Love Doll with real bones, Sitting Cream, Ugly Movie Sonic, Top 10 Hottest Female Sonic Characters, Chris Chan, Steel the Hedgehog, typing your name into Google and adding the Hedgehog after it, Sonic Shipping YouTube Tributes, Sonic Boys Sexy Competition, Sonic Funerals, Sonic EXE, any channel like S Comics Play, obvious self-reflecting parodies like Sonic Hedgehog and Sonic Dreams Collection. And the fact you know everything I just said is only the tip of the iceberg. You are playing Sonic. The internet has done my job for me. You're a Donkey Kong player without any balls. You wanted a bag of goofy tricks to make people laugh, but had to settle for something comfortably safe and much easier to fix when you fuck up. Oh, go ahead and crouch after every stock. God knows you needed a fourth taunt since that's one of your primary skills. Yes, it's always funny, and yes, I already know that you're thinking, well, the fact it makes you upset definitely means it's funny. Well, I already knew you would think that. So now you're just stuck thinking you're winning a linear irony loop argument when really I'm just watching a remarkably dumb dog chase its tail in a circle. Except the dog here is a king penguin, and the only thing you're the king of is getting an audible groan from the audience as soon as the announcer finishes saying King DDD. Playing a real-time strategy game in a fighting game, that's a bold move. You can go ahead and remove the strategy from RTS because you'll be spamming smash attacks 9 times out of 10. You know what, in fact, go ahead and remove time from that as well because you're not going to give yourself even a second to think on your gameplay because you're just going to be pulling up Pikmin to full power and then spamming smash attacks. Really, you know what, let's just go ahead and remove real from your lexicon as well because your modus operandi every game isn't going to evolve a single tactic beyond drawing Pikmin, throwing the Pikmin in neutral play, and then spamming smash attacks. Boy, you fuck dogs, huh? No, I'm kidding. You wanna fuck This dog. Well, let's divert from the obvious fan-based jest and look at the gameplay. It's all about comeback mechanics. And not the kind you're thinking with Lucario. Move on. It just means you're a coward. A lot of people defend Lucario and slather him up and down in praise over how enjoyable it is to flip him getting his ass turned inside out into an ass beating. But think about that mechanically for just a second. You only need a comeback mechanic because your ass was getting beaten in the first place, which means you were never securing your gameplay to begin with. Lucario is the character for everyone who needs a safety net, those who don't want to win too hard because they're afraid of upsetting other people, and anyone who wants to at least feel some level of accomplishment even when getting absolutely stomped left and right. The amount of overlap that has with all the people who want to fuck this guy is astounding. Oh, there's a stench of villainy in the air. When you see a Rob player, you have a pretty good guess as to who's the most likely person in the room to lock someone in their basement just for fun. Rob players are some truly sick fucks. Their tenacity to win at all times is keeping this one-time only, nearly long-forgotten, barely functional gimmick device on life support. You just know a Rob player's the type to scream internally when they lose, and to let the tears flow on the drive home as they rant to themselves while slamming the fuck out of their steering wheel about how they should have won and how everyone else that played is a total fucking talentless hack. Don't bother becoming friends with a Rob player, because they're gonna stay true to their naturally named instincts, and at the first instance of visiting your home, they're gonna ransack your bedroom for DNA samples to aid them in their upcoming white-collar crime spree. Rob may be an unsuccessful launch idea, but a Rob player's idea of a perfect world of Smash Brothers is when everyone is playing Rob, and the punishment for losing a match is public execution. Grip your children tightly around these no-good doers. Have you no respect? Why would you pick this character that spits in the mouth of one of the driving forces behind Nintendo? Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Legend of Zelda, an old Japanese person, famously cringed when he saw Toon Link's initial design, and really didn't like him very much at all. That's real, you can look that up. Now don't get it twisted. You aren't here to spit in people's mouths, because no one plays Toon Link for the sake of playing Toon Link.
Yeah,
Toon Link is
frustratingly enough.
deep nostalgia cut for the
Miyamoto's
vast
a
majority of
very,
his users.
very
People who want to play
eccentric man.
Good Link, play Young Link. And anyone who doesn't care about performance just plays regular Link because,
when you
oh my
think you
god, have you seen how
understand
fucking
when you
hot he
want,
is? All
you
that
don't.
leaves is the mysterious nebula of Toon Link's camp, where everyone always needs justification or two for their
Turns
choice in
out
their
you
back
really,
pocket.
really
The first
actually
response
don't.
to anyone's claim that they named Toon Link is always a resounding, why? Maybe you liked Wind Waker and all the other cel-shaded Zelda shenanigans. Maybe Brawl's your favorite Smash Brothers for some stupid reason. Or maybe you started playing Toon Link when you were 7 and just never stopped. It doesn't matter. Because for all of your days, you're gonna have to explain this one, Chief. Can't wait to see Pixel Link and Franco America Legend of Zelda Pasta with Meatballs and Tomato Sauce Link in the next Smash game. Take everything I said about Lucario, except instead of wanting comeback mechanics, you just want to jump on the Fox bandwagon without explicitly jumping on the Fox bandwagon. And instead of fucking dogs, you want to get fucked by a dog. Here you go. Here's your Animal Crossing rep. Yep. Pretty cool, right? Villager lazily drifts into the Smash Brothers scene with a resounding yawn. While conceptually he's a really good idea to represent the series and its exponentially exploding popularity, he's also just the least exciting thing I've ever seen. Your character is a guy. Your abilities are a cavalcade of Apple Cinnamony farm and sim shit. Your moves are just like the worst of the worst, from projectile spam to camping tactics to safe disjointed hitboxes. You're playing a rare breed of character that spawns nothing but disdain but no anger. No one hates Villager, but instead it's all just a sigh of disappointment and reserve whenever they see the character selection screen hover over him. I mean, I'd write more, but why bother? It's just boring from start to finish. When life gives you lemons, you ask, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these? Because this super fighting robot is going to have you continually guessing your gameplay for years to come. Even the most seasoned, veteran, hardline Mega Man players have no fucking idea what they're doing with him. Combos just kind of fly out. Incredible plays are woven into existence by the sheer force of God, and each and every, I meant to do that, has a 75% chance of being total bullshit. And this is because Mega Man's moveset was designed by Capcom themselves. It's a little-known fact, but it's true. They just followed their own design document for Mega Man. The last full-launch Mega Man game, which does not include legacy collections, spin-offs, or any of that, was released in 2018. And before that, the most recent Mega Man game was from all the way back in 2010, meaning that Mega Man did not have a game in 4 years when he was included in Smash 4 in 2014, and then went another 4 years without a game after that point, beating Smash Ultimate to market with Mega Man 11 by only 2 months. Mega Man went through an 8-year hiatus with nothing of value to his name. It took a combination of his inclusion in Smash and the 30-year anniversary of the series for Capcom to wake the fuck up and say, oh shit, one of our biggest properties ever is just rolling around with the dust in the broom closet? Fuck me, I guess. Let's do something about it, maybe. If you play Mega Man, just enjoy the randomness in the gameplay, because it's going to be more consistent than the respect that he gets from his own parent company. Sorry guys.
Hell yeah.
But it's just time to give up. It's just time to give up. I really like Wii Fit Trainer. In fact, she was my tertiary main for a long time after Snake and Captain Falcon. A representation of the modern age of Nintendo peripherals, large potential of fitness and motion control-based moves, and standing up as the champion of the Wii U felt like a solid choice for a character to represent more than just the game of her origin. And yet she just doesn't even exist. Nobody plays this character. You never see this character online, and as far as I know, there's not a single pro who mains her. Maybe asking for a character based around exercise for the Smash Brothers audience was a matter of completely misunderstanding the target audience. Alright, let me tell you something I find hilarious, hysterical, and downright funny. Rosalina is a celestial being, honor-bound to watch over the entire cosmos. At the same time, she fulfills her motherly instinct by adopting sentient star people floating around throughout the galaxy. She's canonically 7'3", can fire projectile force fields, levitates, manipulates gravity, and can most likely teleport in some capacity. And yet, when she uses her recovery move to jettison into the air, all she can muster is a sound reminiscent of that time she finally farted after a 2-hour-long tummy ache. Woo! Rosalina, just on intention, is a good character. If your friendly neighborhood big lady player is of a higher skill bracket than everyone else, the matches will not even be remotely close because of this little 5-pointed polygon piss boy right here. Enjoy putting in a lot of work just to get a KO that's not going to matter. Enjoy being slapped around by a near permanent disjointed hitbox. And most importantly, enjoy having to touch the 24th most compound character according to the power rankings at rule34.xxx. Side note, I think something's going on here. A few years ago, when I made another video on a similar topic, this list was like what you would expect. It was popular anime and video game characters drawn in a, you know, like the fucking hentai sort of art style, right? But now, it's adult cartoon characters drawn in largely plain art styles that don't translate to it, I don't think. It just seems weird to me, you know, like I could see people pleasuring themselves to Stan's wife from American Dad, but 8 times as many people did that than to Rosalina? That's a little fishy. Regardless, all of this wraps up in a nice little package, because when facing a Rosalina player, you're going to be playing mind games. Kill Luma. Do it. End its miserable plasma-based life. Because Rosalina player is so perpetually attached to that little dumpy guy, they will spend all of their gameplay and perhaps half their life savings just trying to keep him alive, even though he comes back. And when he's gone, it is full-blown panic mode. A full frontal lobe shutdown until that respawn timer finally graciously allows the game to continue again. You may think a victory over Luma is pointless, but it's a moral victory, and shockingly the key to winning the entire game. Oh, and beyond that, Rosalina is hotter than Peach and Daisy, and you know it's true, and you fucking fight me if you want to see these fucking hands. Who pissed in your cornflakes? You don't have to prove anything to anybody. Yeah, we get it, you're playing a character who effectively can only participate in half of a match. But perhaps the fact that the average Smash player is the same height as Little Mac, but not even remotely the same build, Little Mac players are somehow some of the deepest role players the world has ever seen. In their mind, the world and odds are stacked against them for every single press of the ready-to-fight button, regardless of how large the skill gap is between them and the 5th graders they just challenged. There's a chip on the shoulder of anyone who locks in Tiny Punching Boy, and every time a haymaker lands, their brain does a quick calculation of whether or not the digital entity that was just hit felt actual pain from that blow. When the answer is calculated as negative, disappointment sets in. You're gonna be the next Hokage, and also the most normal Pokemon fan to play Smash. Isn't it ironic that the Pokemon designed to be a literal vehicle for self-insert fantasies is played by the most well-adjusted of the professional children's game associates? You've got obsessive tryhards, anti-win fun chasers, malicious psychopaths, children, Squirtle, fetish exhibitionists, casuals, fragile furries, and... well, okay, I'm gonna leave Incineroar for his turn. But you admittedly gotta be a pretty cool guy to play Greninja. You've gotta be a big fan of spamming attacks and mashing buttons until a combo magically appears. But most importantly, you've gotta hate yourself more than any other player because you will be your own enemy for the entire game. Your motto in this game is, they can't kill me if I kill me, and your vehicle for self-destructing is driven by something with a stupid name. Greninja? Really? It's apparently a combination of ninja, which, yeah, of course, okay, and granuli, which is French for frog. The Kalos region where Greninja comes from is based on France, so there's some form of logic chain operating behind the scenes, but I have to add this rant to the ballooning video runtime because this is where things get really stupid. In the French version of Pokemon, they don't call this guy Greninja. They don't use a name that uses Granuli, which you would think would make a lot of sense. Greninja's name in France is Amphinobi, a combination of amphibian and shinobi, and a 4,000 times better name for this feudal frog fencer than Greninja. Somehow, the French version is better than the version made out of French. Wrap your head around that one, and then wrap your organs around your spinal cord from the repeated impact of smacking the bottom of the stage when you play this guy. Wait. Is that Peter Griffin in Smash? Oh my god! That's hilarious! That is without a doubt one of the funniest things I've ever seen. How did you come up with such an original and funny idea? Are you a stand-up comedian? You have to be. You know what you should do? You should use this guy online and put your name as Peter or P. Griffin or Family Guy without a space in it or something like that. That would be absolutely hysterical. Now, the next thing you're going to tell me, the next thing you're going to show me is that you made another one of like Obama or Steve Harvey or some other pop culture character or person. You know, because you're so funny and you're so clever. Now, you at least made it yourself, right? You didn't just copy a design from the internet, did you? Because that would spoil all of the magic. You know, the magic of your own creativity and wit and humor and your really great ideas. Because you're the only person who ever thought of this before. To make this joke, to do this funny thing. And it was you who created it. This really, really funny thing you did here. Okay, did you figure out that there's nothing to say about Mii's yet? They're custom characters. Their entire point is to be whatever you want. It's like trying to make fun of what's in your Christmas stocking first thing Christmas morning. How the fuck are you supposed to know what's in there? Although I will. Seriously, no bullshit. I will give you true comedian funny points if you use a Mii to recreate a fighter that's already in the existing game. Because you have Mario in the game, but then if you're playing online and you run into a Mii that's named Mario and plays exactly the same, that's pretty goddamn funny. Oh man, I fucking hate this bitch. I have written pages upon pages of this document undercutting the idiosyncrasies of Smash Brothers players, but let me tell you, the one thing to take away from this video's long runtime, it's one thing I want you to remember above anything else. Palutena is absolutely everything wrong with this video game. Where do we start? A character that no one asked for, taking up a spot reserved for potential gaming giants with a bland as hell personality, proving passable due to the presence of tits and ass from a previously discussed low-selling series that Sakurai gets dibs on entering because of his grandfathering and superpowers, wrapped up in a high-tier shell, meaning you're going to see this bitch everywhere. No positivity comes from Palutena. Everyone hates playing against her. People only play her due to her effectiveness. She is like an anti-fun vacuum set to maximum suck. Let's not forget, if you're a lore nerd or a world-building geek, the tonally perfect and functional Brawl Codec conversations featuring Snake were replaced in Smash 4 by Palutena's Guidance, a flimsy anime cringe-dripped fan service yuck pile. Smash Bros. Has a remarkably strong track record in making good choices for entrants, but I think Palutena is my absolute first choice for characters that need to be kicked the fuck off the roster. Okay, maybe tied with Byleth and Corrin, but everybody hates Byleth and Corrin. The only defense most people go to is, well, she's got a really good moveset, or oh, she's so much fun to play, which is bullshit coming out of a horse's ass. Remember that she was added to Smash 4 as a demo of the character customization system. Her entire gimmick was having over 20 moves to choose from, and the version we have in Ultimate today is a gimped up slap job designed to try to make something out of this character into something interesting and memorable. Defending any Smash Brothers character with the argument of saying they're fun to play or have good moves is a terrible defense, because you can tweak any character to play however you want. Although techniques are lifted from their respective franchises, how they function in the game is up to the developers first and foremost. Let's take my main man Snake as an example. CQC is a huge part of the Metal Gear Solid series, and yet about 95% of the memorable CQC moves from Metal Gear Solid 3, 4, and 5 that would fit perfectly into his moveset are nowhere to be found in Smash. Instead, for the sake of gameplay, he was given a sky-high up kick and a double low kick, which I'm pretty sure never happened in any of the games except maybe sorta. You can create moves that both make sense for the sake of gameplay and are reasonably seen from their respective universe, but never actually occur in the source material for any characters. Examples include Peach pulling out Toad as a shield, Fox Illusion and Firefox, and nearly everything Pac-Man does. Palutena slotting in as generic magical anime princess who does spells is boring shit that people only defend because of Smash Brothers, not for any true passion for the series or her design. And all of that doesn't even discuss who this slot could have worked better for. If you want a character whose inclusion is designed to showcase a huge variety of moves and customizable characters, the potential is near limitless both in-house and out of it. If we're allowing guest characters, I think Dante, Nero, and Virgil from Devil May Cry would be the absolute perfect encapsulation of this idea. But if we're restricted to Nintendo IPs, then why not add Waluigi as a grab bag of all the Mario spin-off games? He'll throw dice blocks, he'll drive around go-karts, give him the sports smash attacks that Peach has. Or add Paper Mario, because you can do so much shit around the theme of paper, and that's straight from his fucking series. There is obviously also non-Mario IP choices that are good for this idea, but I am completely tired of talking and thinking about anything revolving around Palutena. Let me just conclude with this. I fucking hate this bitch, and you should too. Easily my least favorite character in this game. Well, you're the weird kid, aren't you? Now put this in the golden letters above the gates of Super Smash Con. No normie shall main Pac-Man. Funny to think that in the year it was released, Pac-Man made over $1 billion in quarters from arcade machines. The following year, it made over $6 billion in quarters, which is more money than Vegas casinos and the movie industry made that year combined. These days, what even is Pac-Man anymore? A nostalgia rep? A Namco rep? Whenever someone utters the phrase, oh shit, here comes Pac-Man, what even comes to mind except that Bloodhound Gang song that made that line a cultural reference in the first place? In these off to a great start 2020s, the vast majority of hardcore gamers just know Pac-Man because he's Pac-Man from the old Pac-Man things, with absolutely no appreciation for the fact that he had a ton of spin-offs, cartoons, and a top fucking 40 song about him called Pac-Man Fever, which means we often observe him just for what he is. And what he is in Smash is a fucking weirdo. He's a sentient yellow ball that summons fire hydrants and fruits. Now, there's always the classic, unwatchably uncreative YouTube writing and play of other YouTubers that say shit like, well, what if game characters were real? Mario does drugs and Link breaks into people's houses. But I think that middle school tier humor here is justified for Pac-Man because, seriously, look at this fucking guy. Tell me this isn't the main pick of theater kids and hipsters. When writing this script, I audibly went, ugh, when I jotted down Robin's name. Do we really need 3 Fire Emblem Awakening reps? I mean, it was a hit seller, and Fire Emblem is carried into popularity by its absolutely obsessive fanbase, but give me some fucking variety here. I understand that Chrom and Lucina are clones of existing characters, but so what? You've got a franchise with about 12 mainline entries by Smash Bros. Release, and you can't think of anyone iconic to pull from there? They certainly use them as fan service in the more modern games. How about Hector or Lyn from Fire Emblem 7? Fire Emblem 7 was the first game officially released in America. People who played the original Fire Emblem games, like myself, would appreciate those characters as a good representation of when the series finally crossed over to the West. Or even better, how about you just don't fucking add as much Fire Emblem at all? Now that's a decision that would make everyone happy, even Fire Emblem fans, because for all their magical bullshit, Robin is still technically an anime swordsman, and the roster is stacked with repetition as it is. This is just a pointless choice. I'm really feeling it. Does this appeal to you? Well, of course it does. It's me we're talking about. But this is all anyone is ever going to think about when they think about Shulk. Fuck your Monado arts. Fuck your obnoxious taunts. Fuck your sword reach. Fuck everything about you. Because to 99% of the player base, Shulk is, oh, the guy who took his fucking shirt off. Now, even though Sephiroth has been added with a ton of bare chest service and Kazuya's default outfit is beach ready, Shulk's already supplanted his soft abs into people's memory banks because when he strips down, it just feels the fuck out of nowhere. Sephiroth is a deep, edgy katana wielder, showing up with his chest exposed by default anyway. Him casting off his Matrix outfit just conveys to the viewer that he's not fucking around anymore, and you're probably gonna have a blade endoscopy. And Kazuya is a scarred-up motherfucker, implying years and years of hard battles, punctuated by his ridiculous physique and obvious fighting stance. Shulk's swimsuit outfit is just downright embarrassing to anyone who hasn't played Xenoblade Chronicles, and it's still embarrassing to anyone who has, because you just admitted that you played Xenoblade Chronicles. Holy shit, that's embarrassing. I don't particularly care how this blonde bastard plays or any of the 900 reasons to find him annoying. In my eyes, and unfortunately in my dreams, Shulk's defining characteristic is stopping the show to show off his abs, and not knowing how to get the show rolling again because his momentum grinder has only one setting: to a halt. I'm pretty disappointed. Don't get me wrong, if you're a cool kid, you rock the Koopa Kids, especially Iggy, the best Koopa, but their implementation itself is pretty lackluster. Yeah, the clown car is an obvious addition, but why not take advantage of the paintbrush from Mario Sunshine? I suppose that's just a Bowser Jr. thing and not really a Koopa Kids thing, but I just don't give a shit. They can use it if they want to. The paintbrush has a monumental level of potential creativity behind it and is quickly becoming just as signature to Bowser Jr. as the clown car. It just feels like there's something missing here, like there's more to be done with this cast. Like a reference or a piece of their creation that's just not there. And that's because a lot of the time I forget they're even in the game. Didn't a lot of them used to use magic wands in their old games or something? I don't know, work some Kamek shit for them. Do something. Not just what we got. This is about the part where I break down how I take my fat stinky poopy on anyone who mains Bowser Jr. But I can't even think of how any of them are unique in any way. It just feels like this gaggle of green gangsters has one playstyle you see again and again, no matter who's taking the wheel. And it's pretty easy to stop once you figure it out. They're gonna run to one side, then they're gonna either slam the cart into you or bait you with the cart and try to hit you with a projectile. If you don't commit to anything too hard, then hey, you win the game. It's not even worth talking about these miscreants, but there's so much more pressing issues like, why didn't you do anything interesting with them? Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. No. Don't even say. Don't even start. Do not even talk. Shut the fuck up. You knew exactly what you were doing. You picked this dog and duck for one potential way to be a piece of shit out of 100. You wanted to lock in something annoying, or something to troll someone else with, or something to stall the game, or something brain dead, or blah 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 blah. Unlike Diddy Kong, who at least gets to be super goofy and play off his annoyingness as intentional, Duck Hunt's only mode is annoying, even though it doesn't seem like that was his design. I don't fucking respect you. I really don't. Duck Hunt is a character picked from pure malice and hatred. Nobody, and I mean Nobody plays Duck Hunt just to have a good time. You do it because your game is mental warfare and your guns are loaded with rage bullets. You want me to roast the actual characters? Fine, it's a dog and a duck, the end. The dog laughs at you when you miss shooting at the duck. That right there could be a 50-page long thesis statement on what goes on in the mind of a Duck Hunt player. There's plenty of annoying characters in Smash Brothers, and if you're smart enough, you can play any character in an annoying fashion. But no one on this list encapsulates pure, unfun strategy like Duck Hunt. Fair warning, if you run Duck Hunt, you will be branded. Alright, time to stop fucking around. I respect you again. You saw arguably the most straightforward mainstream fighting game around and said, oh, hey, hang on, what if I made this nearly as complicated as all the other bullshit in this dying genre? There's an extraordinary amount of awe and wonder to a perfectly executed Ken combo, and that, by the way, is a really good Smash competitive joke if you're in the know. And very few things turn up the excitement like Ryu absolutely busting someone in half. I would wager that Ryu and Ken potentially belong in the upper echelons of hype alongside the all-time greats, except they have a caveat. Don't fuck it up. If you're one of the people who puts in the work with these two, I will watch your stream, subscribe to your channel, and fuck your girlfriend. But if you suck or play lame or, oh man, there goes your chance at ever making any friends. The bar is set very high for you, young man, so impress us. Unlike unstoppable hype trains like Captain Falcon and Donkey Kong, you have a lot of dumb tools in your belt. You spam projectiles, I'm not watching. You keep repeating just one combo, I'm uninstalling the game. And if I don't see a single parry all game, I'm calling your parents and telling on you. To give you a behind-the-scenes sneak peek at what I do, I don't write these scripts in order. I kind of bounce around an alternation between characters where I immediately know what I want to say and ones where I have to do research and don't really know much about. Cloud is the last character on this list that I'm writing because I just can't keep doing this anymore. I can't keep making anime jokes. It's stale. It's just too easy. It's really not funny by this point. But it's also not fair, because Cloud is anime. Cloud is so fucking anime. Cloud is the most anime thing on this list. And now I have to ask, what the hell even is anime anymore? Cloud has over-the-top multi-directional hair, but it's a suitable blonde instead of a whacktastic pink or whatever the dick-loving fuck the protagonist of Fire Emblem Engage is supposed to be flaunting. He has an entirely impractical sword, but instead of shotgun slamming it like, say, Guts from Berserk, he whips it around in Mach 5 like it's made of paper. Cloud's got on a turtleneck sweater, which is wonderful if it gets a bit drafty, but he has no sleeves. Meaning he'll be cold anyway? His Advent Children outfit, it makes more sense, but that collar's even more fucking stupid, so never mind. At least Cloud has charisma. Final Fantasy to me has always felt like an anime series that pushed itself so hard to be stupid that it stopped giving a shit. When I watch people play modern Fire Emblem or Persona 5 or Kingdom Hearts, there's at least 30 or 40 points in the game where I laugh and I can't help myself from saying, holy shit, this is stupid. But with Final Fantasy, it all just wraps back around again into, yes, this is stupid, we don't care, in terms of becoming fun again. It doesn't try to pander waifus at you with disgustingly fake writing for lonely fucks to jerk off to. It doesn't make you the coolest guy ever with power fantasies because you have 1 million friends and somehow are the most charismatic life form possible despite the fact you only speak 9 words a year. And it doesn't talk down to you like you're a babbling baby hoping desperately the next year you'll be allowed to use the big boy potty. By the way, those last 3 lines are for the 3 respective series, Fire Emblem, Persona, and Kingdom Hearts I just mentioned, but we are getting to Joker and Sora, don't you worry. Let me just put it this way. If anime is a nonsensical nihilistic art of throwing whatever the fuck you want at the wall and trying to make it impactful, Final Fantasy is the series that does all that, and then when people laugh at it, it laughs back and says, fuck yeah, this looks like shit, and that's what I wanted, I love this. For all you Cloud players out there, I'm gonna tip my imaginary virgin fedora, an accessory many of you probably have in kind, because you could have chosen much worse. This is not a bit. I am going to need someone to seriously try their hardest to defend Corrin in the comments, because I can't think of a single positive thing about this character. Anime character, Fire Emblem, foot fetishist, scaly, incest supporter, mid-tier. The list goes on and on and on, but with Corrin, I am drawing a complete and utter blank defending them. What hurts me the most of all is you would think a character who can transform into a huge ferocious dragon would be more anything. More interesting, more unique, more excitingly designed? Nope. Just blatant anime fan service character, boring player fantasy insert bullshit. Woo! Korin just absolutely sucks. I don't even have to figure out a way to put my feelings into words here, because even the Fire Emblem community knows that Korin absolutely sucks. Because there's tons of threads on this exact fact, and literal threads on how to avoid incest when playing Fire Emblem Fates, because of how wonky the writing in that game is. We've been down a long road, but I just don't even give a shit about Korin. Every single character on this list has some spark in my brain that says I should say something. Positive, negative, a witty observation, a dead joke, it doesn't matter. I'm compelled to say something. But with Korin, all I can think is, it would be better if you just didn't exist. And I struggle to think of anyone who would disagree with that. Hey, thanks for ruining Smash 4, I really appreciate that. What I appreciate more is watching your proximal interphalangeal snap in half from all those combos you've been having to do. Key phrase in that sentence is have to do, by the way, because playing Bayonetta without learning combos is a masterful stand-up comedy act. We're all going to laugh at you. Something I find amusing, whether intentional or not, is how little Bayonetta seems to be sexualized in the context of Smash Brothers. If you do hours of sticky keyboard Googling like I do, you'll find plenty of thematic artwork involving Peach, Samus, Palutena, Daisy, etc. But Bayonetta's count is shockingly low for a character who comes from a game where you literally strip to perform attacks and have camera angles that look like this. What you then have is Bayonetta being the most antithetical Smash character in history. Smash is straightforward, relatively simple fighting game, while Bayonetta doesn't even work if you don't have an understanding of more advanced mechanics. And while Smash Bros. Shows off the squeaky clean Nintendo trademarked image, going so far as to even tone down Snake's butt cheeks, God rest their soul, Bayonetta takes every single frame of the 60 FPS to display some part of her anatomy. Bayonetta is a testament to fuck it, we'll do it the hard way, and an infinite spring well for psychological studies on people who intentionally make things difficult for themselves. A true king's choice for a high-class masochist. Consider her like a motorcycle. Extremely fun to ride, but you better know what the fuck you're doing if you get up to speed. What's up, kids? If your pastime includes mixing Adderall with Monster Energy drink and fantasizing about elaborate ways to get back at your employer, then Inkling is the perfect character for you. Inkling players always think they're better than they are, and they don't realize just spamming the roller attack isn't a viable strategy, or just painting the ground in Splatoon isn't a very high skill requirement. This is because Inkling players are pure unbacked bravado. They'll flaunt left and right about their huge Twitter likes or how cute their dog is, but behind the curtain is a mess of unpaid parking tickets, dirty laundry on the floor of their room, and self-esteem made of glass. I think it's a symptom of Splatoon players thinking that they're in some sort of cult. That game just breeds elitism and an us against them mentality because they falsely believe they're playing some sort of unsung hero of Nintendo's dark underbelly. Newsflash, kiddos, Splatoon is stupidly popular, and as someone who reached the rank of Dog Queen in Splatoon 1, I'd stomp your shit in half. Whenever you play someone playing Inkling, be nice to them. Maybe even give them a non-sarcastic clap after they win a match, because God knows they need it. Let's laser focus on the big purple dinosaur for a minute. Ridley is a platinum member along with Bowser Jr., King K. Rool, Diddy Kong Wario, and either Animal Crossing rep in the league of characters you could argue should have been in Smash long before they got added. But what makes it extra funny for Ridley is the seemingly childish excuses that prevented him from getting in despite 20 years of fans asking. Ridley was said to be too big to be in Smash Brothers. So big there's a Know Your Meme page on the subject. Well, I guess the developers think Kazi is built like a tank, Terry is tucking muscles under his hat, and Wario is so fat as fat fuck ass because all three of them weigh more than Ridley, despite Ridley being like 15 feet tall in the Metroid games. Which is how we get the never-ending clown car of comedy that Ridley radiates around him. Ridley is such a strange product of the specific hype generated by Smash character reveals that him standing up in a taunt is cause for celebration. Ridley's pretty low tier and sees really small amounts of high-level play, but if you talk to a Ridley main, they just wipe the sweat from their brow and say, "Thank God he made it in." Ridley mains would make fantastic monks or homeless people, because they will always be thankful. There can be a cataclysmic shift in the Smash ecosystem, launching game mechanics out the window and transferring actual electric shocks through controllers. And Ridley mains would just mutter, "Oh, he's still in the game. Oh, blessed Lord Jesus Christ who art in heaven, he's in the game." If you think kids these days are distracted with their AirPods and their TikToks and their phones and their jollywags, try having a functional conversation with a Ridley player. Are they about to have a baby while their mother brother's sick in the hospital, it doesn't matter. The conversation is going to be permanently locked on, dude, I am so grateful they added Ridley to Smash Brothers. Good for them, really. They can realistically ride this high for about the next 5 years, until the next Smash Brothers game comes out, because they've already said they're not keeping all the characters in the next one, and you know for a fact that Ridley's gonna get cut, which will start this silly shit cycle all over again. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to wear Velcro shoes at age 35. Simon and Richter players are the type to pour their cereal in after their milk. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to butter the bottom side of their bread. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to hide their knees in their shirt when watching a movie. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to refuse to poop in a public bathroom. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to say thanks, you too, when the waiter says enjoy your meal. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to lose just one of their AirPods and never find it. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to leave the plastic film on their electronics to keep them clean. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to microwave leftover pizza. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to correct other people's grammar. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to chew with their mouths open. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to check their phone mid-conversation with someone. Simon and Richter players are the type of people to give an awesome series like Castlevania a bad name by doing the lamest shit on the planet. Alright, let me tell you something about this big chunky crocodile whenever I see him. When I was a little kid, I played Donkey Kong Country, and this guy was a real jerk. I played through the video game, and I'd run around as the big, funny, strong monkey and the tiny, silly, fast monkey. And he was really hard to beat, but I persevered, and I managed to figure it out. And then he came to Smash Brothers, and now, like, sometimes people will beat me with this guy, even though he's allegedly not very good. But I do like playing with him, but I don't know how good he is. I'm not very skilled in the world of tectonic plate movements, which is the slang that Smash players use when describing upper-level play. That's probably not true, but again, I'm not skilled in Smash Brothers enough to know. Then in the second game, trying to fuck on play Diddy Kong tribute and follow you only know how to use the fishing pole attack, and that's it, and you spam it all game because you think it's super cool because your equally shitty friends don't know how to avoid it, and you don't even really want to play Smash Brothers because it's not your kind of game, but all your friends want to play it, and they invited you to play it, and you'd feel kind of weird saying no, and you don't really care, and you just want to have fun with everyone, and you know, you will without a doubt be the first person to lose every single game, and if you ever win a match, it's going to be seen as a shocking surprise, and everyone's going to reward you with applause and say you're really good at the game, but they're just trying to have sex with you. Many people were up in arms at the inclusion of Incineroar. They saw him as a waste of a slot, a poor character choice, and not strong enough to pull his worth in amongst the coveted Smash elite. And I've got to tell you, you are so goddamn wrong it hurts me. Let's look at the facts and pull the same rabbit out of the hat that I, for some reason, have to unearth every handful of videos. Pokemon is the highest grossing franchise of all time, and through extrapolation, the most popular franchise of all time. The series with the most representation in Smash is Super Mario at 9 characters, which is totally fine. Mario is the flagship Nintendo icon, give him all the prominence he wants, but in second place is a tie between Pokemon, understandably so, and Fire Emblem. Now, technically, Pokemon has 10 reps if you expand Pokemon Trainer to include Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard as their own entities, but in terms of roster of playable characters, it's a tie, but then things get even messier if you consider Robin, Corrin, and Byleth all have female versions, which are like, sort of their own character. It does not matter. There's a tie. For the sake of this argument, it's a tie. If Nintendo decided to take all the Fire Emblem characters, who are from a series which has not even grossed 1/100th of what Pokemon has, and then they replace 3 of the Fire Emblem characters with Pokemon, everyone would agree this is a fantastic idea. And it's not even based on popularity. It's because the potential for Pokemon is so much higher. There are currently 1,000 Pokemon and counting, give or take, and you better fucking believe the vast majority of them aren't just anime swordsmen like a certain other franchise in this debate. Taking your pick of that litter is a smart game design choice without even a specific one in mind. Look at Pokken Tournament, a Pokemon-only fighting game. There's a lot of easy acid flips you can pull from there and just cram into the game. Now let's look at who they did end up selecting throughout the years. Pikachu is the mascot of the company, obviously, and Pichu's an easy in for being a clone. Jigglypuff gets a free pass because he was originally a clone of Kirby to work with the hardware limitations of the N64, and Jigglypuff's also pretty popular in its own right. Mewtwo is one of the most iconic Pokemon ever made, and has a huge roster of moves to work with. Whether or not the animators, gameplay designers lived up to that potential, but that's a conversation we already had. Pokemon Trainers 3 Pokemon represent the original starters, which is a big money decision. Lucario is extremely popular, hits the furry community in their wallets, and has a lot of potential for moves, and Greninja got pushed hard as fuck by the anime, and also gives us a ninja for the game, which I am perfectly okay with, because ninjas are fucking rad, and if you disagree, you're dumb, and the fact there's only 2 of them in the game is super stupid. So when it came time to add another Pokemon rep, what did we get? An evil professional wrestler. Let me say that again. A heel turn, dirty, low down, no good, cheating, ego stuffing, professional, fucking heavyweight champion of the world wrestler. And he's also a big dumb cat. Which means his haters are just afraid of getting pussy, and brother, that ain't me. Every single successful fighting game ever made is improved 100 times over with a pro wrestling character. Zangief, Mike Hagar, Armor King, Tina Armstrong, DMX, Method Man, Ghostface Killah. Okay, the last 3 don't really count. If there's a synapse in your mind palace that fires off a single utterance of rejection towards Incineroar's inclusion, you have absolutely no taste and should feel bad about your opinions. I'm happier that this guy made it in the game than fucking Sora from Kingdom Hearts. That's how perfect of a choice I think he was gameplay-wise. And this takes any and all of my personal bias out of the equation. There were a lot of series to potentially gift us from pro wrestler characters, but to deliver one to us with such a great personality that fits his moveset, the game, and his design? Look at his fucking flaming championship belt, for God's sakes. This is a god-tier pick, which gives me no pleasure when I finally bring it home by mentioning that if you're an Incineroar main, you'd probably be a Lucario or Wolf main if you weren't such a submissive bottom. What? Huh? I mean, I guess. Sure. Really? Really? I mean, he's famous, but it's Piranha Plant. Why? Is he a bad choice? I don't know. Yeah, that's him, alright, but I'm just fucking dumbfounded by this one. I don't know if I'm upset, pleased, nonplussed, anything. I'm just confused. What the fuck do you even say about Piranha Plant? It'd be the same as if they added boom, ching, chomp, flop, womp, bob, or charging motherfucking Chuck. It's like, I don't have a good argument for why it's a bad idea. Like, everyone knows Mario, and he's the face of Nintendo. But why? Sure. Persona 5 is about 30 hours of good gameplay wrapped up in an overly inflated, drawn-out 100-hour package. And that perfectly describes Joker in Super Smash Bros. If you main Joker and aren't a pro, then you probably don't main Joker. You main Arsene. And if your whole skill level revolves around waiting for him to show up to save the day while bitching about how his broken ass keeps getting nerfs and base form Joker's totally worthless, then why don't you go ahead and go back to your friendship simulator game that has a bunch of people in it who say dialogue that no real human being on Earth would ever utter. In the wise words of that cat that everyone wants to have sex with, let's go to sleep. Because it's a pretty safe bet to ignore anything and everything a Joker player has to say unless they have some tournament placements to their name. Their advice means nothing, and their perspective is fucked, because there's just something so boring about being the representation of pure anime cringe crossed with tear whoring for wins. Wake me up when your opinion in this game matters, because I've got a lottery to play. Oh, and speaking of lotteries, you know that sound when you play a Mario Kart and you run over an item block?
Yes, I should have some fun as a farmer.
That plays on loop in my mind whenever I play Hero. We're all here for our slot machines, our gambling fix. You open that RPG menu and you use all of your magic on it or you get the fuck out. Hero is in the game for the sole purpose of giving me a game to play with my grandson, who just dragged me away from my hot streak at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino's premier video poker machines. There may or may not be an entire character who exists outside of this 4-spell choice system, but I've never seen it. Because it doesn't matter. Spin to win is the name of the game, and it's the only compelling reason here to pick not Goku. Just know that if you win, it's because of bullshit. And if you lose, it's absolutely deserved because of your bullshit. Enjoy the final appearance of Banjo-Kazooie, everyone. Isn't it shocking criticism of the games industry when for a lot of characters, these two included, Smash is a more accurate portrayal of who they are compared to their main series? Don't blame these two, blame Rare. Because they don't know what the fuck to do with them. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts was a very divisive game, with most people settling on it after all these years as, it's not a bad game, it's just a terrible Banjo-Kazooie game, but the impact it left on Rare never faded from memory. Take a look at the timeline after Nuts and Bolts was released. Over 10 years of remakes, Connect, Garbage, and Sea of Thieves. Now, I like Sea of Thieves. I've got plenty of hours of my own in it, and it's a good romp and fun time. But is it remotely as memorable or impactful as Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Killer Instinct, or the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy? Rare! You made Donkey Kong Country 2 the best game ever made! You guys can't do something truly great again? Maybe I'm missing something here. Let me know if I'm wrong in any of this, but it's pretty ironic that their current frontline trooper is Sea of Thieves because Microsoft robbed them of their creativity and their ship is sinking. Terry's really cool. Shut the fuck up about Terry. Yes, Min-Min. Everyone's favorite character. It's a character less popular than the sandbag you smack around in home run contests. People hate this bitch and you can't deny it. Zone-only, brain-on gameplay style is a mighty way to piss someone off. But I think the Arms Rep is actually a really good choice. While it easily falls in the category of the character acting as an advertisement for the game, it's a game built on an interesting mechanic that perfectly fits the Nintendo Switch, and I think the devs could have easily found a way to balance it out and make it fun. The question here, though, is why Min-Min? In Sakurai's presentation for Min-Min, he said that ARMS doesn't really have a protagonist, and the producer of the game personally asked him to use Min-Min as the fighter of choice. Huh. Is she really the best choice compared to the rest of the possibilities? I mean, we have to keep the choice unique so that it helps sell the fighter pass. Springman and Ribbon Girl, the characters featured in the ARMS reveal trailer, are currently out. They're pretty similar to Terry and Pyro and Mytho. We get a common local pop, but from my research on the game seems to be the most popular character in the ARMS community. Her signature even helps remind you of a Rocket Tix. There's no other clowns in the roster as far as I know, well, except for Pyro. It's a slam dunk idea. Or how about Twin Tail? She's a famous movie star who uses her hair to attack. Lots of interesting and fun ideas with that one. Look at Cerebella from Skullgirls for a good example. Oh, and Helix. Helix would be a good fit. He's a big wiggly jelly monster made in the laboratory. That's super unique. They went with a ramen shop owner who has beautiful hair, martial arts skills, and dragon arms. It's just so interesting. Sakurai was told specifically by one of the insider reps at the Nintendo Entertainment Planning and Developing Division that they should use Min-Min. Maybe they were trying to capture a certain market. The market of consumers that tends to...
How do you know that we're nearing the end?
In a modern, globalized world. Okay, now this is absolutely stereotyping here, but maybe a country whose market is just like Japan in a lot of these ways. They tend to utilize Asian cultural items like ramen, martial arts, and dragons. A country that has already overtaken the Steam user base as the most popular country on there. And it is quickly oversweeping the entire video game market. What could that be? Oh, Canada. Oh boy, here we go. go. Minecraft is back again to topple the video game industry one more time.
So EA really
Minecraft is
sucks.
the highest selling video game of all time, and it's not even close. It outsells second place Grand Theft Auto 5 by over 50 million units. So how funny is it that Minecraft asserted dominance on Smash Brothers the instant it showed up on the scene? Steve is the talk of the town in the Smash community right now, and he's firmly in the top tiers, if not the best character in the game. And this is a character technically played more by your 7-year-old cousin than by you. Steve currently has a glitch being developed right now, putting serious weight on him getting banned from tournaments for being too good, while also being a character that generates more YouTube videos than everyone else featured in this game combined. Steve's gameplay is lame, encourages solitaire playstyles, has options to do anything, and allows you to literally build an L and take a screenshot of it while beating someone's ass. You can scan Smash Brothers forums and subreddits for hours and find evil threads of players calling for Steve to run out of town, and Steve players being sent death threats just for playing the character. And all of this for a blocky dude who makes more money selling merch than some entire franchises represented in Smash. Everything here is beyond delicious. It's scrumptious, decadent, dare I say yummy. If any character deserves everything he brought to the table, most importantly the hatred, it's Steve. Well, you don't fuck with Sephiroth. In terms of milking the sloshing dreams of every bright-eyed PlayStation 1 user or Japanophile, he checks off every box for cool character. Uses katana.
What does that mean with second sword? What? Can she use multiple weapons just like Eos?
Christianity has a huge over-the-top memorable theme song, transforms into an incomprehensible full god, and the list goes on. And something cool about Sephiroth they never mention is his hollow bones. Because he's a bird. Why would he be a bird? He flies around, has a wing, and weighs next to nothing. The following characters are heavier than Sephiroth in Smash Brothers. Shulk, Pit and Dark Pit, Pac-Man, Ness and Lucas, Villager, Diddy Kong, Olimar, Sora, and Kirby. A grown-ass man with a rippling 8-pack and a sword the size of my penis weighs less than some children, a monkey, a child who floats, and a living balloon. While I was a bit bummed Sephiroth came in when we already had a Final Fantasy rep, I really can't be too upset. He's an absolutely standout character from a massive franchise. It is so actually cool that even anime haters like it. I just wish the rest of the guys would stop calling him a bird. Sephiroth does so much work in Patty's Pub, he really deserves more respect. I mean, nicknaming him Sweet Seth? Really? That's stupid. Oh hey, look! It's the Zelda and Sheik transformation gimmick, except this time it's on the most generic character design ever possible. An anime swordswoman. But even worse, anime swordswomen that are just blatant advertisements to buy their game. Tell me, anyone out there watching at home, did you want Pyra and Mithra in this game? Did you really? Out of anyone you could have had otherwise? Because chances are you didn't. Chances are your reaction to the reveal
Okay.
is, fuck are these two? Because as it turns out, as of their release in Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pyra and Mithra were only in one video game, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Stupid shit alarm sounding already? We already have a Xenoblade Chronicles rep in the form of Shirtless Boy, and every other character in the DLC bracket is either from the newly introduced series, an absolute icon in video gaming, or is Fire Emblem. And yeah, Fire Emblem is terrible, but we've already talked about that. The problem with these two isn't just that they're uninteresting, bland, overly specific, forgettable, and recycled gimmick, embarrassing, pure anime chaff. The problem is that they happen to be the final death nail in the coffin for good entrants. There's only 2 Smash characters left on this list. Thank God for my voice. Kazuya and Sora. Now, both of those two absolutely deserve to be in Smash, with Tekken being a massive, long-running franchise of easy source material with full front that perfectly complements the Street Fighter and King of Fighters reps, and Kingdom Hearts having the largest crossover fan base of anime movies, dribbling children, and my hobbies are my personality gamers, which is the perfect demographic for Smash, and also Sora's the most requested character of all time for all points. So the close out my well-deserved shit talk on this too, I'm just gonna list who we could have had instead of these walking billboards for a game that will make most people watching this say, wait a minute, wait, they made a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles? Even they're not from the first game? We're gonna start with Nintendo-owned characters, which means that these characters would have had zero issues in being added to the game. If any of these reminders make you angry, blame Pyra and Mithra. Waluigi, Gina, Paper Mario, Bandana Waluigi, Dixie Kong, Skull Kid, any Rhythm Heaven character, Ring Fit Trainee, and as previously discussed, like half of every Pokemon ever made. As for third parties, Crash Bandicoot, Ratchet and Clank, Spyro, Dante Virgil Nero from Devil May Cry, the Doomslayer or Old School Doom Rayman, Isaac from Golden Sun, Shantae, Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Monster Hunter, literally anyone from Guilty Gear, pretty much anyone from Resident Evil, and any of the well-known characters from Mortal Kombat. Majima from Like a Dragon. Now, side note, the creator of the series said he doesn't want Kiryu in Smash because he doesn't like the idea of Kiryu beating up women. But he never said anything about Majima, and if you know the series, that would absolutely be a character. Lloyd from Tales series, 2B, Phoebe's Runner, and about 100 other characters from series that were already added that aren't fucking Pyra and Mithra. And finally, Agumon and Master Chief. But let's be honest, for those two, that would never, ever happen. Like, I would rather that they reveal that those two are never getting in than they reveal that Pyra and Mithra did get in. So,
That's weird. That's weird. Super weird.
Yeah, fuck these guys. Beating on someone whose mission is to just beat ass is difficult, but not an impossible goal. And that's because this guy is just a wee bit too strong. So a lot of the flex doesn't come from his sick pythons. It's just getting one lucky hit in ass beating. Watching a master Kazuya at work is like a world-renowned glassblower putting together a piece. It's a delicate, volatile art cascading into something utterly natural for that only applies to a small subset of the population. The rest of you suck absolute ass and rely on pure raw luck damage to carry your ass at bad spots. Remember when Ganondorf was all manufactured hype? Well, imagine Ganondorf except you give him all the tools to actually get in and bust some nuts. And then you get even more tools because you're having a closeout sale on really good shit. Now that's a much more interesting thing, isn't it? But it's also where heavy privilege now starts to come. If you're unfamiliar with
Alright, blinding is a good idea, apparently.
heavy privilege isn't just a system to divide who eats the most fried chicken in Golden Corral. Heavy privilege dictates that because a heavy character has a harder time
Holy
approaching
shit,
their
what a
opponent around the
boss.
stage and playing the neutral game, they deserve to hit harder. Kazuya hits like 6 Trunks having sex with a Mini Cooper, but he's also got armor on
They're
his
just as bad as this guy.
and also insane attacks, movement options. You fucking name it. Kazuya is a heavy sandwich made from the best cuts of meat from all the fat boys, and it shows. I'm quite proud of you for choosing a character who has one strategy of, come here boy, I'm gonna whoop them cheeks. But you're also absolutely dead last on the totem pole of characters that work for their kill. Get the job done, but don't feel proud about it, you scummy shithouse.
If I had lights out.
And if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, stick with me. You're not gonna like it, but the adults are talking, which means it's gonna work out okay. I fucking hate Kingdom Hearts. I can't stand it. I really, truly cannot stand it. It is a series that, from top to bottom, feels like it has been made for 7-year-olds, but is enjoyed by the worst kind of teenagers and the lowest self-esteem adults. I have played many video games in my life, but no collection of games has made me cringe more than Kingdom Hearts. There's no exaggeration. I'm not making a pig. It takes a lot.
What do I have that can blind?
You see me with my shirt off earlier? That's a good idea. But in my combination of personal playthroughs of gameplay games and Kingdom Hearts, I struggle to think of a series where I would quicker cover my monitor if my parents walked in. And I regularly play hentai games. The gameplay is overrated. The dialogue is abysmal. The usage of the source material is mostly okay, but often an uninspired retelling of the original plots. The overarching story is a confusing mess. The drama is convoluted. The music is pretty good, I can't lie. And most importantly, if Kingdom Hearts was a standalone series and didn't include Disney, nobody would give a fuck about it. It's probably the strongest criticism of Sora specifically. The original characters in Kingdom Hearts are lame, and if they existed in any other series, they wouldn't continue to exist to this day. Don't believe me? Go look up Sora's first appearance in the Square Enix game, The Bouncer. But, Sora is the best rap we could have possibly had added to Smash Bros. Hands down, you cannot disagree with this. The fervor for this series is life-altering, and the fact it represents a successful negotiation with Disney is the most inspiring thing I have ever seen come out of 2022. I'm putting aside my differences for this one. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for my opinions on Kingdom Hearts, and I truly don't care. Because unlike Kingdom Hearts fans, I've experienced a vagina that wasn't on the internet on my own. But I applaud your victory. I will celebrate with you hand in hand that Sora is in this game, because I struggle to think of anyone who would make a better final bow on this gift package of characters. I have a lot of choices I would have loved to have made it in the game that didn't. I'm fairly still upset that no one from Devil May Cry got in there, because I think they're literally a perfect choice. Ichiban from the newest Like a Dragon game came in a little late, but I think he still ought a shot to be slotted in the game. There was a window of time. And I think Raiden from Metal Gear, specifically the Rising Revengeance version, would have been an absolutely fantastic and just as impactful choice as a lot of other characters. But I can rattle off 100 names, 1,000 names of characters I want in the game. Reasonable choices too obscure, never gonna happen.
Alright, I hope you stayed true to what you're saying after what I'm about to do soon enough.
Kingdom Hearts fans. Finally got a victory in life. A victory in the form of a floaty, annoying child whose excitement generation just compounds how much you spend way too much time on the worst parts of social media, but a victory nonetheless. And finally, I've moved to the center stage because there's one last character I haven't mentioned. A lot of you out there are probably audibly gasping, whispering, "Oh, what about all you fighters are supposed to possibly be?" Well, as someone who operates 9 levels above the common man, handle this. At first, I didn't handle this video alone. I just did 99.9% of the writing. I want to give a hearty thank you and a slightly damp handshake to Goblin, Moki, and Light of the Voice Esports Smash team for helping me with some of the scripting in this video. They provided me with a handful of insight on these characters and the competitive side of Smash that I wouldn't have otherwise realized, and they helped make sure that each and every verbal smackdown I went through here tonight was entirely factually accurate. Look at it this way.
I'm getting tired. I'm getting
I
sleepy.
said in this video, well, I've got a team of professionals on my side, so suck my fucking dick.
Sucks, but
the final character.
I'm going to have to end things here.